But despite that apology, Iran continued to attack those countries. CEO of the Foundation for Defense of Democracy, Mark Dubowitz, joins me. Nice to have you back. Mark, tell me, was the attack on the neighboring country, was that an accident, a mistake by the military, or was that intentional and deliberate?
So, Greta, it's intentional, deliberate. I mean, Pezeshkian has zero power. I mean, he is, quote, the president of Iran, but the actual power center, the Revolutionary Guards and the military, the Ministry of Intelligence, and other leaders, including guys like Kalabaf and Larijani, who your viewers should learn their names, because they're the ones with actual power and decision-making, and obviously they're the ones who've decided to continue attacking these Gulf countries.
What's the point of attacking? What's their strategy?
Well, their strategy was to try to get these Gulf countries to put pressure on President Trump to stop attacking the regime in Iran. But it's spectacularly backfired, because what they've done is not only gone after military bases in these countries, but they've hit civilian targets. They've killed civilians there. 1,400 or more missiles and drones have been targeted at the UAE, but also at Saudi Arabia, Oman, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait. So they're hitting the whole GCC, the Gulf Council there, and it's failing spectacularly because these countries are furious. Some of them are contemplating joining the U.S. and Israeli efforts.
Assuming this war ends soon, and assuming that there's not all-out chaos in Iran, that they choose a leader that doesn't have chaos, what do you foresee in terms of the Abraham Accords in the Middle East?
I think we're going to see an expansion of the Abraham Accords. I mean, President Trump has made it very clear that he wants to see Saudi Arabia joining the Abraham Accords before he leaves office. He's done a lot of favors for the Saudis, and now he's showing that without U.S. support, these Gulf countries are very vulnerable to threats from Iran and from others. And so I think there will be a favor to repay, and the Saudi Crown Prince, Mohammed bin Salman, will need to join the Abraham Accords, normalize with Israel, and then bring in countries like Indonesia and other Arab and Muslim countries to create a much greater coalition of stable pro-American allies.
Well, it was thought prior to October 2023 that Saudi Arabia was close to joining. Of course, Saudi Arabia, with Sunni Muslims, have never liked the Iranian regime, Shiite Muslims. I mean, they've been the sort of natural religious enemies for a long time. But in light of this going on, I don't foresee necessarily that there's going to be great order in Iran. Do you think there'll be great order in Iran when this stops?
Well, Greta, it depends what happens. I mean, if we're either going to be left with a severely weakened Iran, stripped of its most dangerous capabilities, which I think President Trump has articulated as the main mission for the United States, or we'll see a very different Iran, hopefully under different leadership, more pragmatic, less anti-American, not dedicated to the destruction of Israel. There's always a scenario that there's chaos, and in that power vacuum steps forward even more radical leaders. So it's difficult to know where this is going to end. But I think the one thing that's most important is no matter what happens, this regime is stripped of its most dangerous nuclear, missile, and military capabilities, as well as its ability to use its terror proxies. And you see Israel hammering Hezbollah right now in Lebanon.
Going back to June, how much did we dismantle and disable their nuclear capabilities?
Well, according to the Israeli Atomic Commission, which I think has the best sort of nuclear experts who focus on Iran, we had set it back at least about 2.5, 3 years. So obviously there's much more.
So why was the February 28th attack? I mean, what was sort of the trigger for that? Was it just opportunity that they suddenly knew everybody, these regime leaders were in the same place? I mean, what was the trigger? I know that the Trump administration felt that the diplomatic efforts were going nowhere fast, despite 7 or 8 meetings. But what was it about February 28th?
Well, I think it was, look, take the opportunity because President Trump has warned Iran, do not reconstitute your nuclear and missile and terror capabilities. The Iranians ignored that warning. We're not prepared to do a diplomatic deal. And so President Trump decided that this was the opportunity to ensure that those capabilities would not be rebuilt.
Was it any impact? I mean, he sort of promised the protesters. I mean, he didn't draw a red line, but there's always that as a back, a number of years ago, I think it was in the Obama administration, that the protesters expected help, didn't get it from the U.S. I mean, did that have any impact on it, and should it?
Greta, you're right. I think it did and it should, because President Trump promised that help was on its way. He called the Iranian people to the streets to take over their institutions. Obviously, as you know, over 30,000 of them were massacred. And so I think U.S. credibility was on the line. President Trump enforced the red line, unlike Barack Obama. And I think it's been a very important, not only for Middle East signaling, but signaling to the Chinese, the Russians, the North Koreans, and other American adversaries that this president is willing to stand by his word.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting meeting when President Trump travels at the end of this month to Beijing to meet with Xi Jinping, who has, I think China's remained relatively quiet about this, as pretty much Russia has too. Putin has pretty much too, except for to condemn it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Listen, I mean, the Chinese and Russians did not ride to the rescue of the Islamic Republic of Iran, despite hopes in Tehran that they would. And I think it's going to be a very interesting meeting. And listen, I hope it deters Xi Jinping from invading Taiwan, that he understands that the United States military is still the most powerful military in the world.
Or he may think that the United States has exhausted a lot of its weapons, so this may be the time to go. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. Anyway, Mark Dubowitz, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Greta. Appreciate it.